Welcome to ATB TV. I'm Darren Dance here on Zoom live on Friday afternoon with Peter Morganti, live in Ballarat with his collar over his head.
Pretty cold, Darren. You're in Ballarat. I didn't realise you were when you sent a message, but you would have felt how fresh it was outside, but I don't think that's no different to the rest of Victoria at the moment. Cold.
No, we're certainly shivering through a frosty winter, that's for sure. Well, the season finishes tomorrow, the COVID season 2021.
Yep.
We'll come back. Maybe we'll talk about the season now, Pete, at the top of the show before we get into last week's runners and what's coming up next week. But you've put all the stats out there, and why don't you just run us through where we ended up this year compared to last year, and who were the better trainers and horses for us?
All right, we'll give you the basic stats. We had 261 runners, 33 winners, 65 top three. The percentages there is 12.5% win strike rate and just under 40% top three, which they're commendable considering. Probably a lot of the way our horses are, a lot of them aren't the sprinting types that are up and about. They're staying middle distance horses, so there's a lot that need a few runs. In terms of winners, we had 5 horses win twice: Mr. Moneybags, Hasseltoff, Serious Suspect, Capriccio, and Steinem. Top trainer. Now, I've quickly looked through these. Robbie Griffiths with 5. The Ma Eustace stable with 4. Pat Ryan with 4. I think Daniel Bowman 3. And there's Matty Williams. There's a few with 2. Oh, Archie Alexander 4. I don't know if I mentioned him. So a good spread. Our horses are spread amongst trainers, so it's good to see we've got results across the board with most of them. Not too much more to add there. I suppose in terms of the biggest win or best win, I'm not putting it in a money category, but obviously Serious Suspects Group 3 win was a great one for the team, for Saab and for all the owners. Great result with Capriccio winning that, the Vobis race at Flemington? No, that was worth a lot of money, so great result there. She also ticked the box as far as some black type running third in that last race before a spell. Literary Magnet, that was a good result coming to town and running second in the at Caulfield in that Vobis race. We had a few. Mr. Moneybags going to Lindsay Smith, winning first up after being with Robbie. That was a good result for the owners. I suppose our Dandino's coming to the fore and racing and winning was exciting. That's a quick snapshot. Obviously, we've got some exciting horses there that are coming through the ranks, like Hasseltoff. We mentioned Steinem. It was exciting for her to get to a Group 1 in her first preparation. I think that just spells out where she is as a horse going forward. 4 runs, and at your 4th run in a Group 1 and star favourite. We're looking forward to her in the spring. And some exciting horses like Crackerjack Prince, obviously Quick and Dandy, a Dandy Man, Raise the Colours. They all showed enough for us to be excited about going forward.
Yeah, I thought, I think the stats this year, last year, we just had, I think it was 3 more starters this year, 261 to 258. So the numbers of runners were about the same, but the win result was much better.
33
winners to 33 winners to this year to 22 last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's a result of probably moving a lot of horses on that had reached their mark. We obviously unearthed a few, particularly Steinem and Capriccio and Hasseltoff, and I guess Literary Magnate's probably one that's got plenty of upside. So I think the quality of the horses that we've got in the team at the moment is pretty good. okay, Steinem looks like she could be potentially our headline horse, Group 1 horse. As you say, Capriccio has been very, very good. Looking forward to when she gets back. Serious Suspects about to launch. He's just a war horse. Moneybags is a bit similar, just keeps going around. Hasseltoft's looking forward to him. And then there'll be some new ones coming through that haven't raced yet, Peter.
No.
That have got very good reports on them, but whether we see them early in the spring or late in the spring or might even be next year, but there's some nice horses to come through there. We unearthed the first starter last week, which we'll talk about. It looks very promising by Piero. We've got a first starter by Exceed Excel on Monday. Big raps on it. So, the team's going from strength to strength this year. And I think the owners all understand that, with the prize money on offer and the cost of training fees, these days, these horses need to be winning in the city or they're just not viable. I know it's a hobby and it's a lot of fun, but they do need to be trying to pay their way anyway. So we've certainly tried to filter out those ones that are just going around in this 58, 64 grade and can't get out of it, and concentrate on these better horses. So I think, we just need to build on that. And I think, as you said, the Dandino project's been a 3-year project so far, and we're only just starting to see them come to the races now. And whilst they've been, winning their maidens and class 1s essentially, in the next 12 months, we really need to see them step up now to city grade horses. For that horse, to be successful at stud, we certainly do need to see some of these Dandinos, hitting their straps in town. So it takes a long time for these staying types to come through, and obviously they're always going to be late 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and now his first crop's just turning 4 tomorrow, or the day after, Sunday. We'd want to see a few city winners come through in the spring. That's really what the benchmark would be.
Just on that, Darren, obviously we move a lot on for various reasons, injury or they reach their mark. I think just a couple that have been ATB favourites in Connery and My Shiny Choice retired during the current season. As and they were two horses that brought some good memories along the way. Connery was a tough horse, city winner at Warrnambool. That was an exciting win, that. And My Shiny Choice, obviously, with Robbie and then with Matty Williams. And I'll never forget that win the last day of the carnival. Can't remember with COVID now. Was it a COVID year or the year before? I think it was the year before COVID. Yeah. And look, they were two, probably that 70, 78 grade pulled them up, but geez, they were honest. And they well and truly paid their way and brought plenty of fun to both ownership groups.
Yeah, 100% right. All right, well, let's go through what we just had the 4 starters leading up to the racing holiday.
I think I was at yours when Sean and Dandy ran, and we put the jinx on him. But look, to be fair, he ran well. He ran 5th. It was a bold track. He just looks like he had 2,400 metres stamped all over him. And lo and behold, that'll be his next run. I think it's Bendigo, and I think it's next weekend. There's a 2,400 metre maiden that Danny O'Brien's earmarked. He hasn't lost faith at all in this horse. We've just seen it out and out star in the making, I think.
Yeah, I thought.
But he's certainly got to stay.
Yeah, his last 100 metres there the other day was very good. He was the only horse running on late, and no match for the winner. And I think he ended up back on the inside there in inferior ground. But as you say, he looks to be just an absolute 2,400, 3,200 metre type horse. And he's immature. He's only in his first prep, and he's really just learning his trade. And I think he's shown enough to say that he's going to win a couple of races, and maybe later on he could even end up being sort of Saturday grade.
Yeah. Lindsay Smith made the big trek to Mildura. I reckon if he knew halfway up that it was raining, and the track had turned out to be like it was. He might have turned around at Witchy Proof and headed back home to Warrnambool. And look, to be fair, both horses, Cracksman and Mr. Moneybags, ran well, but the track and the where they drew, well, you go to Mildura and you draw 2 and 5, you're laughing, but probably on the day, both those barriers meant that Dean Yandel was forced in a position where he didn't need to be and didn't want to be. And he was dictated to rather be the dictator. And Dean loves to be the dictator on tracks like Mildura. Cracksman beat 3 and a bit lengths, and I think Moneybags was about the same, running 5th.
Yeah, well, Moneybags also around the Mildura Cup.
Yeah.
The winner was outstanding. We're never going to beat that horse the way it ran, but yeah, I think you're right. Just getting back onto that wet track and back on that inside ground, and just couldn't build momentum and never looked like the winner at all. And Cracksman was probably pretty much the same. But Cracksman went in there probably 1 run short. We knew before the race, wet or dry, he wouldn't be winning there anyway. It was pretty much a tune-up run for his next start, which is what I'm more interested in. So, you know, I think it was an exercise to get a run under their belt on probably the best racing surface we could find other than synthetic in the state at the moment, given the weather. It might have been a soft 6 or 7, not ideal for either horse, but at least we get that run under their belt, and hopefully at some time it should stop raining and the track should start to dry out a little bit. You would think in August that could be a remote possibility.
We'd hope. Moneybags, there's a 1400 at Flemington tomorrow week. We know how well he goes at Flemington. It is an open handicap, so he'll get good weight relief. Open handicaps this time of year, 1400, they're not going to be overly strong. You know, a month, 3 or 4 weeks down the track, they might start strengthening up a bit. But so that looks a good race for him. And, you know, fitness-wise, you wouldn't think he's too far away, because that Sierra Sue that won, that's a Group 2 winner in Queensland. I mean, she had outstanding form, and she just, as you said, it was an outstanding win regardless. She had to carry 60-odd kilos and did it on her ear. So to be beaten 4 lengths first up, it's not a bad effort. And we'll speak about Cracksman in about 5 minutes' time as he heads to Sandown. Piranha. Now, this was a good run, Darren. First up, the Piero. And I love the way Archie went about this. We could have just kept her in the stables. But if we did that, we probably wouldn't have seen her for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously, we've had the race-free week. We've got no trials this week. We had no, I think there's limited trials next week. So he rolled the dice despite the bad barrier. And as you explained, it's a track that is very tight. When you come around the home turn, their camber's out. And there's a reason there. There's a chute there at the home straight. So she did all the hard work and kept getting to the line like a nice little filly in the making, running 4th.
Yeah. Well, she went there off 1 jump out, underdone, with no expectations. And, she acquitted herself well. She was very well mannered, very well educated for a first starter. She was basically off the bridle the whole way, and on the corner when she cambered out was probably had to be 10 wide off the fence. Normally they would just plod away and might beat 1 home, but to her credit, her last 150 was really good. And I don't know, if she had another 200 metres, she might have got over the top of those horses and been a first start winner. But she's a Piero staying type of filly. She's only a 2-year-old. She turns 3 on Sunday. I think she's got a big future. Archie had a good Piero with us a few years ago called Gamay, and she went on to win a stakes race in Melbourne. I'm not saying this filly will do that, but she certainly made a fairly impressive start. So I think if she can win next start, we may well see her sneak into one of these Melbourne races, 3rd or 4th up, and she might have a bit of future, that filly.
Piero is a tough horse as a racehorse, and I think we've seen it with Gamay and Connery, and now this filly that he's certainly thrown some of those traits into his progeny, or from what we've seen anyway.
I think it was a very exciting debut.
And Harry Coffey was fairly impressed too. I think he was thinking the same, that she would drop out, but she kept giving underneath him. So promising debut. So they were our runners. So Piranha, as it is, or as it was our last runner for the season. Our first runner for the 2021-22 season is Cracksman. Benchmark 64 2,400 metre race. It's on the big jumps day. I think there's the crisp steeplechase and, I don't know, 5 or 6 jumps races, 3 or 4 flat races. This race, a race similar to this 12 months ago, he ran probably his career best when he ran third in a benchmark 70. Damien Lane nearly stole the race when he led on him and got caught beating the neck. This is a grade lower. Fourth up, we won with him last preparation, fourth up at Geelong, same distance. I'd say no excuses, even though we're in town. It seems silly that we've gone Ballarat, and Mildura and been unplaced, and you go to the city, you're going to start a 10-1 chance and probably an undeniable top 3 chance with a winning hope.
Well, he's certainly on the 64.
Be Preble.
Brett Preble to ride.
Who's riding? Good Nick.
$3.60 the place, Peter.
Yeah, that's inviting.
Very tempting. On his form and what he's done in his career, and the fact that he's the 2,400, probably 3,000 metre horse. Yep. Fourth up, good rider, nice track, lakeside, suits the leaders.
Yeah.
I think there's only one in there to beat, and that's Matt Brown's horse. I think at 360 the place, you got to be on.
Yeah, I just love the lot at Mildura, which he's a big track horse too. He's won at Geelong and he's ran well at Sandown. Once he got balanced up in the straight there at Mildura, that last 100 metres, you could see him. He was going home as good as the winner and the second horse. So, look, he's going to be fitted up. Preble's riding well. I think he's drawn 6, is it, or 8 or something. There's a barrier where he'll get into a good position.
Yeah, barrier 8.
Yeah, and, I agree. 360 the place.
Should be 240 the place.
Yeah. And Lindsay's churning out winners, so his team's still going well, and he's got 5 in tomorrow at the Valley, and then 2 or 3 at Sandown on Sunday. So no, I agree. He's a good chance, Cracksman, and it was a 3,000 metre race Lindsay had picked out after this. He said, "Don't be surprised if I back him up." So I don't know where that is.
No.
Monday, you mentioned about an Exceed and Excel filly who is called Midnight Hussey. First starter at Echuca, drawn gate 1. Again, Brett Preble's been booked, trained by Clinton McDonald. For the ones that have been in, they know the owners, and obviously we've been feeding a lot of the information onto the breeders. He's had a good rap on this filly for, I don't know, he's been in her care. She's been in his care for 12 months or so now, and nearly got her to the races a couple of times. But been patient with her, and I think it was Dylan Dunn who rode her at the last trial, and he got off and said she's ready to go to the races, and here we are. We're going to the races Monday. He did look at going to the race tomorrow, the 2-year-old race at Moonee Valley tomorrow, and it'd probably come up a bit tough for her first up. But we're going to Echuca, and I think we've got about a dozen of the top 20 stables going there as well. So everyone's thinking. What's that?
Could easily be a city. A city race.
Yeah. Anyway,
$8.50.
Yeah, she got what price? $8.50.
Yeah, $8.50 she is.
The gate one's a bit of a, you don't know what's going to happen,
I know what will happen with her. She'll lead. She'll be one of the fastest horses anyone's ever put a saddle on.
Well, if you're going to go draw
I'm
gate
not worried
one,
about I'm not worried about the first 900 metres. I'm worried about the last 100. I'm not. She's fast. She's won trials by 10 lengths, this filly. She does overdo it. He's worked really, really hard for 12 months to try and get her to settle. Yeah, the last 100 will be the key, but she's done plenty of work and he thinks he's got her going better than ever. But if the track is too heavy, he probably won't run.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what rain they have forecast to get, but she's 850 and 260 to place, so she's a genuine each-way show. She'll give you a big sight. It's just whether they can get her in the last 100, and a lot of that will depend on if she's going to go on the rail, whether that ground's inferior or not. But we're in race 1, so we're not going to know until afterwards. But she's a high-class filly. He's liked her all the way through, and he's got big plans for her later in the year.
She's had some different riders on through the journey, and they've all sort of jumped off and said, can they get back on? I think we've had Damien Oliver at one stage, we had Michael Walker at one stage, and obviously Dylan Dunn. So she's given some good riders a nice feel along the way. So it's exciting, and it'd be good to see her if she does go around on Monday. 64th Street, which broke her maiden at Narandera. Just speaking off here, you'd think she may not run at Gundagai on Monday. Drawn wide and maybe a wet track, save her up for another race. But also, I think it was a tough race. She said I want to be class 1 or similar, but he may pigeonhole her for another day.
Yeah, he's very concerned about drawing 17. He described the track as a large 50-cent piece, which I've never heard that before, but obviously it's got lots of sharp little bends in it, lots of little corners, so he just said you struggle to win there, and there is some really promising young horses in that race. So his plan is to wait till Monday and see if any of those top liners come out and scratch. If they do, he'll go. If they don't, he'll save it. She's only got one more start before she goes to the breeding barn, so there's no point going around just for the sake of it. If he doesn't feel she can run in the top couple, then we might as well wait. I think there's a race at Canberra 9 days later, and there's another race somewhere up in that area. But yeah, she's definitely only got one more go before she goes to stud. It'd be nice if we could get 2 for 2 with Luke Pepper, who's done a terrific job with her. And I've never had a trainer send so many updates out on race day before.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Just Saab might run second to him. No, and they were all, there was a different variety of updates too. Obviously, he walked the track, and I think he was just concerned that he got all the right messages out to the owners, and he did. And it's always nice when they come off with a win as well. So, no, interesting story. Yeah. Interesting background, Luke, as we've harped on before, been involved with Takeover Target, and obviously an excellent horseman. Well, Tuesday's Pakenham, no runners, and Wednesday's Cranbourne, no nominations or runners. But Thursday, depending on whether Warrnambool goes ahead, obviously there's the last meeting there was transferred to Casterton. That possibly can't happen because Casterton actually race themselves next Sunday. But we've got Black Mirror in a 1,400 metre maiden, and apparently the jumps trials have been put off the Periscope we're heading to, so he has to now probably find a flat run in between going back to the hurdle trials. So 2,350 metre race. Now, if we don't go to Warrnambool, if they don't run, I don't know where we go. But we'll just speak as if they are running. And Black Mirror's first up run was excellent. She'd be very hard to beat over 1,400. I think he's already engaged.
Sorry, I just missed that.
I think he's already engaged, Mr. Yendall.
Oh, right. I would think that she'd be even money favourite.
Yep. Beaten by 2 smart ones at Casterton. Not very often you go there and you go into the line powerfully, and yet 2 other horses are going through the line just as hard as you. And they had the momentum up. she sort of had to come off their backs and probably didn't quicken as quick as them, but certainly
just definitely looking for more.
Yeah, and obviously, and Periscope suited better at 2,300 as opposed to 2,000, and he was narrowly beaten this trip and distance. This track and distance at Warrnambool prior to his Caston and third. So, yeah, his plans have just been. He's still going through to get his ticket, but hurdle trials have been called off, I think, because it's too wet and they're trying to make sure the track's okay for potentially Thursday. And I think them trials are again end of August. So, bit of a rejigging with his schedule.
Okay. All right. I know the runners for the week, and then obviously on the following Saturday we'll have your horse, Serious Suspect, first up.
Ori Star and D. Oliver back.
D. Oliver.
Trying to think of the last winner who rode for us. I know the last horse he rode for us was at the Carnival at Warrnambool. Got off and said he didn't try.
Oh, he rode all those. He rode all those Lindsay Smith ones.
Naval warfare. Now, I know one thing. He won't get off Serious Suspect and say he doesn't try. Different kettle of fish altogether. So, no, look forward to that. I'm not too sure if we've got any other runners, but we'll definitely have him at Flemington, I mean. And that certainly signifies the start of the spring carnival, even though we've got a month of winter to go. Once we start talking Ori Star and races like that, you know spring's not far away.
No, it's coming around quickly. And the other thing that's coming around quickly is these broodmares getting ready to foal. I can't believe we're into August and we're into the foaling season again. I don't know what happened between March and August. One minute the sales in March, and the next minute we're here in August ready to foal. So
wasn't much warm weather, I know that.
No, I don't like foaling in August because it's too cold and it's too windy. But anyway, we've got some nice warm boxes set up there ready for them. So all the preparation's been done. We've just got to wait now for them to tell us to get out of bed and give them a hand. So we're full on into spring carnival and foaling season and getting these mares in foal. So yeah, it's all about to happen, Pete. It's all about to happen, but it looks very unlikely. Well, I think they've already said that we won't be back at the races until prior to the middle of August under any circumstances.
Yeah.
I read that. And it seems to me that we're not going to get back to the races until, you know, in any sort of numbers or any sort of normality until probably sometime in September at best.
Yeah. A chance mid-August that, you know, you'll have limited numbers, mid to late August, but it's a day-to-day thing, Darren. We just don't know.
Well, it's a bit of a cycle, and I think why New South Wales is sort of in trouble. It's not going to take too many leakages across the border to plunge us back into trouble again. So I think we've all got our fingers crossed and toes crossed. But when you look at the stats, 6 months of the last 18 months have been spent in lockdown. So it's 1 in 3 months. So we've got to enjoy the time we've got out because we don't know how long it's going to last.
No, in saying that, we had a couple of Zoom races last week, Darren, on Friday. I had half a dozen owners in Cracksman and then half a dozen owners in Moneybags, and we all sat up and watched the races via Zoom, and that went across all right. We actually had Roger and Judy on. It was Judy's birthday, and then we had Maureen Plews and her daughter Fiona cracking champagne before Cracksman's race, so they went the early crow. Might see how we go Sunday with Cracksman again. We might I might call out for anyone that wants to jump on from Zoom. We had Dan from South Australia. I had one of the owners in Moneybags stuck on the freeway, Southeastern Freeway there in Melbourne. He was zoomed in, so it made for a bit of entertainment. And look, we may have to look at that occasionally over the next month just to get the owners involved. And hopefully there's a winner so I can tape it all and show the excitement. It's been a big thing on the Olympics, actually, the Zoom. And
yeah, it has been good, hasn't it?
That's one thing I was saying to Beck there before. If we had a normal Olympics, we wouldn't have been getting into these households because they would have all been over at the Olympics. But because they're all home, you've been able to actually get in up close and personal. And it's made the games certainly different, but from a perspective of just seeing the whole family that's been involved in all these results. And it's been some brilliant stories that have unfolded, obviously, with the 8 or 9 gold medals that we've won.
Well, all I can say is that given that we're in lockdown, given that we had a race-free week, thank God for the Olympics. But mind you, mate, if I see one more pommel horse or one more set of steel rings, God help me. God help me.
No, that McDonald's ad's the one that's driving me mad. They obviously poured a lot of money into that, getting the vision.
They're athletes. They're not supposed to be eating that stuff.
It's funny, isn't it? Major sponsors McDonald's for the athletes, but
where's Subway?
Yeah, but
where's Subway?
A lot of money.
Thank God for the Olympics this week. Would have been a long week without the Olympics, and I think a fair few people have had a bit to say on that as well. But I hope they all enjoyed their week off racing, because I don't think that'll be happening again anytime in our lifetime.
Some of the trainers got on the pedestal this week. No favours coming from RBL for a certain amount of trainers. I know that. Jeez.
I thought the story, I think Ash Yagi, right?
Yeah. Was Ash.
Very good.
Amy.
It was very good.
Amy Yagi. Yeah.
Amy, yeah. Yeah, I thought the story she wrote, just in those smaller stables where they're very hands-on and they don't have support staff and they're short on track riders. And if anyone hasn't seen that story, they should Google it, because I thought it was very pertinent to the whole current status of the industry and the shortage of staff and the amount of hours they have to do and the amount of hours they're doing themselves, and the hardships they're going through, because they got little kids as well. So when I read that story and the way she put it, and then you thought, well, those kids wouldn't even hardly see their parents.
And they've got 30 horses, so they're not half a dozen.
They're not big enough.
They're right in that, probably there's a lot in that same scenario, 15 to 30 horses. And like they said, they've got to drive the trucks because they got no one that can drive the trucks. Yep. Between her and her husband Ash, so they got to do a lot of stuff that the bigger stables just employ people to do. So
no days off.
No, and
too kind to get their staff to do the Sunday afternoon shift to feed up. They'd rather get home from the races, do it themselves. And it's a very, very good article.
It's a cash balancing thing too. For everything they do, it's something they don't have to pay out, and it's a tough gig. And I think the big part of the story is maybe, can we start at 5 o'clock or 5:30, not 3:30 in the morning? Who wants to get up at 3:30? Well, I think she mentioned, even if you got some stable stars there, who wants to hear the alarm at 3:30 when the wind's blowing, middle of July, and you got bloody rain, hail, whatever. But I think it also highlights the passion these people have got for what they do as well. But it certainly is a tough gig. When you read that story, you certainly get a better idea for that middle range of trainer.
Yeah, no, well written too. I
might dig it out and send it out, actually.
Yeah, no, it's worth doing. And all right, well, let's leave it at that, Pete. That's the end of the racing season for us. 33 winners, up on 22 last season. I'm happy with that, with the same number of runners. Got quite a few exciting horses to follow through this spring, and hopefully a couple of emerging stars. Literary Magnate, Midnight Hussy, Piranha.
Capriccio.
There's probably another 2 or 3 there I haven't mentioned. Capriccio and obviously Steinem. So that's all top. Now, there's probably 10 there that we should have a lot of fun with over the year. And then, as we say every year, Pete, there's always a couple that pop up and surprise us. But then his mates, there's always a couple that drop off and disappoint. So
I reckon if
at the moment,
I reckon we're in a better position starting off this year, than we were last year with the quality that's there in front of us now.
Yeah, well, last year we were just starting the cleanup. This year we've done the cleanup, completed the cleanup. I don't actually think I've got a horse to put in the next English sale. I think everyone we've got at the moment is safe.
Yep.
Until the next race.
Yeah, until the weekend.
That's it.
All good.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for that. Have a good weekend. And we can't visit anyone, so all the pubs and clubs are chockers, because that's where everyone's catching up. Drove through a few in Ballarat today, and they were jam-packed full of people, because no one can visit their houses, friends in Victoria, so it's all outdoors or in restaurants and pubs and clubs. So that's got to be helping the hospitality business.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Got to go and visit your parents at the pub.
It's a different world.
All right, guys.
All right, well, thanks for that. Till next week. I'm Darren Dance with Peter Morgani. Enjoy your winter weekend.
See you guys.